My name is Alex Gaines. I'm an American expat living in Biarritz, France. So I'm making this channel because I get to live a dream this year, a dream that I've had since I was very young. I'm going to be racing a championship called the Funyo Sprint Prototype Championship here in France. And I want to take everyone along for the ride, and I also want to share a bit of my life here in Biarritz as an expat, what I do for work, and some of the beautiful properties that I represent for my clients. So let me give you a little bit of my background, why I'm here and why this championship and this racing is so important to me. It all started back in 2003 at the Los Angeles airport, where I helped a stranger with $100. Before we continue this story, let me give you a little context. I'm originally from North Carolina, which is on the east coast of the United States. When it came time to go to university, I chose California because the motocross was the center of my world. I've been racing motocross since I was 8 years old, and there was no better place to be than California. So I could race more and go to school. Back to the stranger that I helped in the airport. It was in 2003, I was waiting on a friend in the LAX airport, and a stranger approached me who did not speak English, and I did not understand a word he was saying. All he told me was Air France, and he pointed to the Air France ticket counter. So I reluctantly went to the counter with him, and the woman there explained to me that yes, she knew this man. He'd been there for 2 days. He lost his wallet and his ticket to return home to Paris. He'd been in Los Angeles on a trip. He lost his ticket and his wallet to return back to Paris, and he was asking for $100 to change his ticket so he could be back on the next flight out. So I gave him the $100. I thought it was the right thing to do. We exchanged telephone numbers, and I thought that was the last time I would ever see him. I never thought about France before. I wasn't concerned about France. My world was the US, California, and motocross. Before he left, he told me his name was George and that he would stay in contact. And he did. So for the next 7 years, George would call me at all random hours of the night because he could never understand the time change, the time difference. I was 9 hours actually different than George at the time. He would call me at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning because he did not realize it was that early. And he would try to speak with me in English. And he did that for 7 years. But little did I know, in 2009, he called me one day out of the blue. And he told me that he had bought a plane ticket and a hotel for me to come visit him in Paris. And I had never left the country as a young person alone. And I was quite reluctant in the beginning. I'd just been married. And I was with Nicole, my wife, and I was going alone out of the country for the first time by myself with a person that I met only one time back in 2003. Needless to say, I accepted his offer, and I came to France for the first time in 2009, and that trip changed the trajectory of my life instantly. One thing that I realized when I was there, and this bothered me very much, was that most people could speak at least some English, could at least communicate with me on a basic level. And me, on the other hand, I could not speak one word of French or one word that could even create a basic communication in French. And that bothered me very much. After that trip, I had spent the next few years trying to understand how I could have a more international experience and create a new trajectory in my life that I thought could be more interesting than just a little bubble that I knew in my small town in North Carolina. Almost 10 years to the date after I met George back in Los Angeles, I had landed in Nice, France, where I had just enrolled in a Master's in Business Administration program at EDEC Business School. That year at EDEC changed my life even further. I was in school with over 35 different nationalities. I worked on a daily basis with different cultures, different languages. We traveled to South Africa, we traveled to Singapore, and most importantly, my wife and I found, on our first fall break, we found Biarritz. My wife and I knew that this was the place for us. This is the place we wanted to stay. And I was trying to understand how I could make my life work here. And I luckily networked and found a small tech company who was looking to expand their market globally. And I took a chance, and they took a chance on me to open up their market in the United States. So I opened their market in the US. That in turn gave me my visa and my job here in France, and I worked for them for a few years to open their markets in China, in UK, in Europe, and all over the globe. After settling down in Biarritz for a few years, we purchased our first home and completely renovated it. And that was when I realized there could be a niche in the market because there was no other English-speaking or Anglophone real estate agent in the area. And I struggled with my home purchase and also with the renovations. I liked real estate and I thought I could fill a need in the market. And so I luckily met Benoit Verde at Prestant Realty, where I am today. I was very nervous in the beginning. I could barely speak French. Speaking on the telephone was difficult. But Benoit had confidence in me, and he told me it would come. And after 6 months, my French was much better. I made my first sales. And almost 10 years to the day that I went to school at EDEC, I'm now established as a partner at Prestant, and I love what I do. The last time I raced was back in 2010, and actually I'd just won a championship in the Sports Car Club of America, and I thought that would be the last of my racing. But just a few years ago, I met a client who became a friend, and he brought me back into the world of racing here in Europe. And we're back at it this year in 2023. What you can expect from this channel will be episodes at each of my races, and the background, the inside of me preparing for the championship and me battling the championship. And in between time, I want to show you some of the beautiful luxury homes that I work with here on the Basque Coast and a bit about my daily life. So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I hope you'll join me on this journey this year, and I can't wait to see you on the podium.